ಶ್ರೀ ಗಣೇಶ ಶಾರದಾ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಉತ್ತರಂ ಯತ್ ಸಮುದ್ರಸ್ಯ ಹಿಮಾದ್ರೇಶ್ಚೈವ ದಕ್ಷಿಣಂ ವರ್ಷಂ ತದ್ ಭಾರತಂ ನಾಮ ಭಾರತೀಯತ್ರ ಸಂತತಿಃ. Welcome to all for this session on Skanda Purana, the chapter 21 of Kaumarika Khanda under the Maheshwara Khanda. In the previous chapter, we saw the great battle that's happening between the Daityas and the Devatas, and in the battle, at points, the Devatas are receiving a lot of setback in spite of the effort by Vishnu, who himself came into the battlefield to fight with the Daityas, and he killed many Daityas, but still he could not able to face Jambha, who is destined to be killed by Indra himself, and later Vishnu retreated himself from the battlefield. Narada, who is telling this story to Arjuna, continued the story. On seeing Vishnu fleeing with his flag and bow smashed and destroyed, and the Daityas rejoicing, Indra was in a dilemma, not knowing what he should do. The Lord of Suras came near Vishnu in a great hurry. He then spoke to Vishnu sweet words instilling enthusiasm. O Lord, why do you play with these Danavas of vicious minds? How can that man whose vital and vulnerable points have been found by wicked man pursue his activities? Because Vishnu indeed had defeated many people, including Kalanemi, including Mahisha and various other, but still allowed them to go away without killing them. A base man treated indifferently by a powerful person thinks that it is due to his own strength. Hence, an intelligent man should never neglect a mean minded one. If you think that a warrior on a chariot becomes victorious by the excellent fighting performance of a good warrior going ahead, O Lord, who was your friend and assistant formerly at the time of slaying Hiranyaksha? Because here Vishnu told Indra, saying that you need to have an excellent assistant, excellent person who will going to command the entire divine army, because only by Kumara Swami, who would later become the commander of the entire Devata army, that the Taraka will be defeated. Then Indra went on insisting, while killing Hiranyaksha or Hiranyakashipu, was there any commander? There was none. Vishnu himself killed all of them. Daitya Hiranyakashipu was very powerful and arrogant, but coming into contact with you, he was destroyed like a blade of grass in fire. Who was your forerunner, that is going in front of you then? Formerly, the very powerful Daityas who were equal to Madhu and Kaitabha went to the jaws of death after coming into clash with you, like fireflies entering a fire. In every yuga, O Hari, Daityas met with death at your hands. Similarly, O Vishnu, you are the support now of Suras here who are terrified. On being urged thus, Vishnu of great powerful arms, increased in size, strength, and splendor and prosperity, the slayer of enemies had been the support of all living beings. Then Keshava said to the thousand eyed one, that is to the Indra, laughingly, what you said is true. It is the same as the words within me, what I feel about it. I am able to burn all the Danavas in the three worlds within a moment, but Taraka cannot be killed by anyone excepting a 7-day old infant. Mahisha, Shumbha, these two are destined to be killed by a woman. Jambha has been cursed by Durvasa that he will be killed by you. Hence, you kill Jambha, who has been excessively haughty. That Danava cannot be killed by any other living being except you. Protected by me in battle, you do annihilate Jambha, a thorn unto the universe, with your divine valor. Basically, Vishnu has the capability to kill everyone, every Dhanava within a second. However, he need to respect the words, he need to respect the boons given by Brahma, Shiva, and others to these Rakshasas, and hence they are destined to be killed by different people, and Vishnu alone deliberately do not want to kill them. On hearing these words of Vishnu, the slayer of the enemies of the immortal ones, the thousand eyed Lord Indra ordered the presiding officers, the commanding officers of Suras to arrange the army. Then, requested by Devas, Vishnu arranged the army strategically. Hari made the 11 Rudras occupy the front line, going ahead as they possess the essence of the heroism and power of penance of all the worlds. They assumed the Alidha posture. Those great gods were very powerful. Their necks were blue. They applied Tripundra, three parallel lines of sacred ash on their foreheads, and the crescent moon on their crests. They were tawny eyed and wielded spears in their hands. Their lofty matted hair was tawny colored. They wore lion hide as dress. Those gods with terrible arms besmeared their bodies with sacred ash. Those Rudras, beginning with Kapalisha, had routed great Asuras formerly in battles. They were Kapali, Pingala, Bhima, Virupaksha, Vilohita, Ajaksha, Shasana, Shasta, Shambhu, Chanda, and Bhava. These 11 Rudras of infinite strength and superhuman power protected Devas roaring like rumbling clouds. Shatakratu Indra on, was seated on the Airavata, who was very huge and had the luster of Himalaya. He wore a golden lotus garland and was adorned with a series of great golden bells that were moving to and fro. He had four tusks. He could assume any form as he pleased. Ichor was flowing from his cheeks. On this intoxicated elephant, Indra was seated. He sat on it like the refulgent sun on the peak of Himagiri. Maruta, wind god of unmeasured exploit, protected the region to his left. Agni, the fire god who filled all cardinal points with flames, protected the other one. Vishnu, the lord of battles, was the protector of Indra at the rear. Adityas, Vasus, Vishvedevas, Maruts, Ashwins, Gandharvas, Rakshasas, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and the great serpents, crores and crores of those made their separate groups marked by their respective emblems. They proclaimed their reputation through groups of bards and panegyrists going ahead. They moved ahead proud of their ability to slay Daityas. They had weapons and banners of different colors. The army of Indra was guarded and defended by groups of immortal beings, with the sound of the vehicles reverberating and adorned with crores of banner clothes, white and fluttering far above it increased the sorrow of the sons of Titi. Gajasura, a Daitya in the form of a bull elephant, saw the army of Suras coming. He was a great performer in the ocean of wholesale killing. He had an axe for his weapon and made a cup of teeth and limbs, that is, firmly cutting the lips. He stamped and crushed Devas under the feet and hurled the others with his trunk. He killed the others with his battle axe. The great Daitya had terrific power. Even as he was killing them, Devas, Gandharvas, and Kinnaras became furious. All of them jointly discharged a mass of miraculous weapons and missiles such as battle axes, discuses, small javelins, mallets, lances, barbed missiles. sharp pointed arrows and unbearable mallets. The Daityas swooned, all of them like the leader of a herd of elephants swallowing mouthful of his food. With the tips of his curved fangs throbbing with anger, he made a roaring sound, slapping his palms, killing Suras in the battle. He moved so quickly everywhere that the Danava could not be seen in one place for a long time. A loud noise of ha ha, alas, alas, arose from all those groups of Suras, whereon Gajasura fell. On seeing that army fleeing all round, the Rudras with egotism rising up like the flames of fire spoke to one another. Oh, catch hold of the leading Daitya. Oh, powerful one, split him, drag him, break or pierce him with sharp spears through at the vital points. On hearing those words, Kapali took up his spear, sharp and shining at the tip, and wiped it with his left hand. In his excitement, in his eyes were gaping. He appeared as though he had scattered red and blue lotuses in all the quarters. Then he went towards the great Daitya, knitting his eyebrows. He held the spear with a firm grip of his fist. Pali, devoid of impurities, Danava in the elephant form, on the frontal lobe of his forehead. Whereupon all the other 10 Rudras took the great Daitya, whose body resembled a huge mountain, by means of spears made of iron without impurities. That is, they were using spears made out of steel. From all the tubular vessels and pores of the Daitya, blood began to flow. With the flow of blood caused by the spears of the Rudras, the Danava Gaja shone like a pure lake in the autumn, full of full blown blue lotuses without any impurities and surrounded by swans whose bodies had white splendor like Rudras. In the course of fighting, Daitya Gajasura, with his sprout like ears, moving to and fro, pierced the infuriated Kapali and Bhava in the navel region by means of his tusk. On seeing him engaged with 2 Rudras, the other 9 Rudras immediately pierced the body of the enemy of the immortal ones by means of arrows and spears. When the great Asura left off Kapali and Bhava with great speed, the infuriated Daitya Gajasura rushed towards the remaining 9 Rudras. He pressed them with the kicks of his feet and trunk as well. Then, when he became exhausted by the spear fight, Pali caught hold of the trunk of the enemy of the immortal ones, Devas, that is Devas. With great velocity, he whirled Gajasura. On seeing that the Daitya was sick with fatigue and that the life had slipped a little and that he was not enthusiastic to fight, he himself lost enthusiasm in the battle. Even as he, that is Gajasura, was being whirled, his terrible hide was scraped off. In spite of blood dripping from every part of it, he made it his robe. That means Rudras, they tore the hide of the Gajasura and used it like their robe. Then Devas eulogized him in various ways by means of many hinds, and they said to him, he who kills him will die. On seeing the form of Kapali covered by the elephant hide, that is the skin of the elephant, they were frightened and fled. They hit and they fell down in thousands. Thus, when that leading Danava of great strength was shaken and tossed about, Nimi rushed quickly, riding on an inebriated elephant with sounds raised by 100 dundubis. He agitated the armies of Suras. To whatever directions the elephant of Nimi went, Devas fled from them. to the different cardinal points along with their vehicles and trembling frequently through fear cried loudly. Even at the smell of his, that is, even at the smell of Nimi's elephant, the elephants of Suras fled. While the armies of Suras were running away, the chastiser of Paka, that is Indra, stayed there along with 18 defenders of the cardinal points and Keshava, Vishnu. When his, that is Nimi's elephant, came near the elephant of Shakra, the Indra, the latter became frightened. He trumpeted terribly, though he was held with great effort. He stood like a chokora bird frightened. When his elephant, that is when Airavata fled, Indra, who was riding on him, took an about turn and fought with the great Danava. Because the Airavata got terribly frightened by the elephant of Nimi and it simply turned backwards. And Indra himself facing backward, sitting on that, and he started fighting with Nimi. Shatakratu hit Nimi on his chest with his spear, and with his iron club he struck with great force the elephant on his cheek. Without minding that blow, Nimi of fearless manliness struck Airavata in the region of the hip by means of a hammer. On being hit by the mallet in the course of the fight, elephant of Shakra, that is Airavata, mountain like in form, went down, that is, it sat to the earth on its hind legs. With agility, that great elephant of Devas got up quickly. On being threatened by the elephant of Nimi, he fled from the battlefield. Then a harsh and strong wind blew, raising much gravel and dust in the face of Nimi's elephant. He did not get trembled, but stood like a mountain, shedding blood from his body. Thereby he appeared like a mountain full of lakes of minerals in its body. Dhanesha, that is Kubera, hurled a heavy iron club forcefully towards the elephant of the Danava, and the iron club fell and hit his head. On account of that stroke of the iron club, the elephant fell into swoon. With a great force, he hit earth with his tusks and fell down like a mountain. When the elephant fell down, there was a great leonine roar everywhere among the armies of Suras. It became intense by the trumpeting sound of the elephants, neighing sound of the horses, and the sounds of slapping of the hands by the archers in the army. On seeing the elephant killed and Nimi turned away from the battlefield, and also on hearing the leonine roar, Suras reverberating in the cardinal points, Jambha blazed with anger like a fire that is enkindled. Thereafter, with his eyes turned red with anger and fixing an arrow to the bow, he said in a shrill voice, "Stop, stand." He also encouraged his charioteer. On seeing him coming with the arrow fixed to the bow, Shatakratu, who never got frightened, grasped his bow tightly. He took up an arrow with a crescent moon-like tip, cleared with oil, cleaned with oil, and capable of flying in a straight line. With that, the slayer of Bala and Vratra, that is Indra, cut off his bow along with the arrows. After casting aside that bow which had been broken, Jambha, the delighter of Danavas, took up another heavy bow, and with it he discharged oil clean, straight flying arrows which had the shape of a serpent. He pierced Indra in the region of the collarbone with 10 arrows, in the region of heart with 3 arrows, and in the shoulders with 2 arrows. Indra discharged a volley of arrows towards the great Danava. Even before the arrows discharged by the arm of Indra reached him, while they were in the sky itself, the great Danava cut them into 100 pieces by means of arrows comparable to flames of fire. Thereupon Devendra covered the Lord of Danavas carefully by means of a volley of arrows. like the sky with clouds during the rainy season. The Daitya too pierced Chakra by means of sharp arrows, just as the wind scatters away the cluster of clouds which could not be stopped at the cardinal points. When Chakra could not excel the great Danava on account of his fury and agitation, he discharged an extremely miraculous Gandharva missile. Thereupon, the whole of the sky was pervaded by its refulgence. It created Gandharva cities of miraculously wonderful shapes, having different kinds of ramparts and arched gateways, discharging showers of arrows all around. The great army of Daityas, which was being killed by that shower of arrows, sought refuge in Jambha, saying, save us, O descendant of Bharata. This is addressing to Arjuna by Narada. O descendant of Bharata. Then Jambha of great virility roared and laughed frequently, remembering the good behavior of good people. He assured them freedom from fear. Then he discharged a very excessively frightful missile named Musala, whereupon the entire universe became filled with terrible thrashing rods. All the Gandharva cities were shattered by them. Then, with a single fierce blow, he smashed to smithereens the Sura, his chariot, horse, and elephant. They fell into hundreds and thousands of pieces. Thereafter, the Lord of Suras, Indra, discharged a Thastra missile. When that missile was being fixed to the bow, sparks of fire came out. Then thousands of mechanical arts and laws manifested themselves. Now the fight was carried on by those machines in the sky. The firmament became devoid of stars. The Musala missile was broken by those machines. Asuras were killed then. Jambha then released a Shaila missile that would reduce the collection of machines to powder. Thereupon, showers of stones of Vyama, that is the measure equal to the distance between the tips of fingers, then the arms are scattered on either side. That Vyama, thereupon, showers of stones of Vyoma length began. Whatever machines had been made by the Twastra missile, O descendant of Bharata, that is Arjuna, they were all reduced to very small pieces like gingerly seeds on account of the fall of those stones. Falling with great speed, those stones then fell with great force and hitting the heads of Devas, tore up the ground and the army consisting of 4 units. Thereupon the thousand-eyed Purandara dispatched the Vajra missile, where at the great shower of stones the rocky slabs was shattered all around. With the Shaila missile subdued, Jambha, who resembled a mountain in steadiness, dispatched an Aishika missile. He thus smashed the valor of the enemy. When the great missile of Aishika, the extremely terrible missile prevailed, the armies of Devas were burned along with the chariots and elephants. The Vajra missile that had split even mountains was destroyed by the Aishika missile of the Daitya. When the armies were being burned all round by the refulgence of the missile, the slayer of Bala, the chastiser of Paka, dispatched an Agneya, that is Agneyastra, the missile of the fire god. On account of this missile, Aishika missile was destroyed. When that missile was repelled, the Indra, the Pavaka Agneya missile gained the upper hand. The army of Jambha, his chariots, and the charioteers were burned. When his missile had been repulsed, the great Daitya, who had presence of mind and brightness of conception, discharged a Varuna, is presided over by Varuna, the god of rain, missile that could subdue the flames of the fire. Thereupon the sky was filled with clouds shining with lightning streaks. The earth was covered with hailstones as big as elephants. The universe was filled with torrents of rain equal in size to the trunks of elephants. On seeing this, Varunastra Agneya missile subdued and repulsed. Indra dispatched a matchless Vayavya Astra, which was presided over by wind god. So he sent that Vayavya missile. Thereby the clouds were dispelled. As the cluster of clouds was dispelled by the power of the Vayavya missile, the sky became devoid of turbidness. It assumed the luster of the petals of the blue lotus on account of the excessively violent gust of wind. All Danavas began to shiver. Even those who were the most powerful among them could not stand there in the battlefield. Thereupon, Jambha became a mountain extending to 10 yojanas for the curbing of the violent wind. The commander of the army of Danavas in the form of mountain was covered with various kinds of trees and creepers and endowed with different kinds of miraculous features. When the violent gusts of wind subsided with a great Daitya's assumption of the form of mountain, Shatakratu discharged the great Ashani thunderbolt of adamantine features. When that Ashani fell upon it, the caves and the streams all round upon the Daitya in the form of a mountain became shattered and scattered. Thereupon, the magical power of transforming into a mountain of the Danava, great Danava, receded. With the deceptive power of transforming into mountain, thus repulsed the excessively proud lord of Danava, transferred himself into a terrible elephant of huge size of mountain, trampled and crushed the army of Devas. With his tusks he killed Suras. The Danavas seized with his trunk and thrashed them on his back. While he was destroying the armies of Suras, the slayer of Vratra, that is Indra, discharged a Narasimha missile that was unassailable because only a lion can face the elephant. So he discharged the Narasimha missile. Thereupon, thousands of lions came out thanks to the power of the mantra. They had claws resembling a saw. Out of delight, they made loud sounds of boisterous laughter and displayed their curved teeth. When the body of the Danava was split and torn by those lions, he gave up the deceptive Maya of being an elephant. Thereupon he became a terrible serpent with a number of hoods. The great warrior in the army of Suras were burned by his poisonous breath. Striking the enemies in the course of the battle, Indra discharged a Garuda missile. Thereupon, thousands of Garudas emerged from it. Those Garudas came upon Jambha, who had assumed the form of a serpent. The Daitya was split into pieces, and his Maya, that is a magical power of deception, was destroyed. When his Maya was frustrated, Jamba, the great Asura, assumed a matchless form reaching up to the region of the moon and the sun. Rolling his eyes, he wished to swallow the leading Suras. The army of Suras, along with the elephants and the great warriors, entered his mouth that was terrible and of which the palate was very formidable, descending up to Patala. When the armies were being swallowed by the powerful Danava, Shakra Indra became dejected and distressed, driving his vehicle, that is Airavata, who had already become tired. He did not know what to do. Then he spoke thus to Janardana: command what it is that has to be particularly done by us subsequently in this situation. We shall do that unto this Danava who is desirous of fighting. Thereupon the liberal minded Hari spoke this to the Lord with the thunderbolt for his weapon, that is Indra. O cowardly one, afraid of the enemies, The battle should not be abandoned now, though it is terrible. Do not go, do not be confused and deluded. O Lord, remember quickly the missile pertaining to Narayana with great purity of mind. On hearing it, Indra discharged the Narayanastra. In the meantime, the Daitya with his open mouth had swallowed within a short while 300 thousands each of Kinnaras, serpents, and Rakshasas. Thereupon the Narayana missile struck his chest. With his heart pierced by the great missile, that Jambhasura shed much blood. Thereupon, along with his refulgence, the form of the Daitya too was destroyed. Thereat the Daitya vanished after making a laughter of a loud report. Stationed in the firmament in an invisible form, that leading Daitya discharged Shastrasani, that is, weapon of thunderbolt, that was great destroyer of the armies of Suras. Similarly, the Danava showered axes, discuses, adamantine arrows, mallets, lancets, swords, javelins, gadas, and etc. out of anger. They were indestructible as well as inexhaustible. Ground was filled with those terrible missiles discharged by the Danava on the armies of Devas. It was also filled with arms, heads with earrings, eyes resembling the trunks of elephants, lordly elephants comparable to mountains, chariots with their shafts, poles, rods, wheels, and axles broken, and the charioteers as well. The earth became impassable as flesh and blood formed a massive bog. The great army of Suras flowed like a stream where blood constituted eddies and whirlpools. The huge bodies of elephants formed rocky boulders, and wherein headless trunks danced. It caused great delight to jackals, vultures, and crows. After drinking the flesh dripping blood was scattered here and there by Pishacha species, that is the cows. They were dancing along with their wives who had no undue excitement. A certain haughty wife was infuriated when the Pishacha collected the hoofs of the horses along with the pearls found within the frontal lobes of the elephants. Some of them rejoice in their earrings, others look at it with anger. Great experts in matter of ornaments of the ears pacify them in many ways. Some say, O Devas, O Daityas, we pray to you, you must fight like this till the end of the Kalpa for the sake of satisfying us. Some said, this is Daitya, but the plump with flesh, this is Deva who has great quantity of flesh. If he were to die in the battle, we shall give the Creator many offerings without being requested. When the heroes were fighting, some Pishachas began to lick the side of their mouths. Some said, from this frothy water we know whether the fellow is wicked or good. Some who had inclinations towards religion performed the tarpana rites like libation, etc., to the Pitras and the Devas by means of the auspicious blood and flesh on the banks of the river of blood. Some of them were seated on heaps of flesh, but seeing a piece of flesh in the hand of other, they began to shout loudly, give me, even though they themselves are sitting on the heap of flesh. In the same manner as a miserly rich man. Some of them were satiated themselves, but when they saw others eating, they angrily bit their lips and looked at them with extreme malice and jealousy. Some furiously struck their bellies and censured them because they wished for everything edible, like persons who are themselves satisfied wish for others' wealth. Some said only today has the creation of Brahma became praiseworthy. Previously, the good dawn and the excellent stars were futile. Thus, here and there, in the midst of various gossips and dialogues of the meat eating Pishachas, in the course of the battle, Jambha, who was invincible, reduced Devas to powder by means of his weapons. Then Shakra, Dhanesha, that is Kubera, Varuna, Pavana, that is wind god, Anala, the fire god, Yama, and Nirarati, all of great power, collectively discharged divine missiles in the sky, aiming at the Danava. The missiles of the Devas discharged towards the Danava became futile, like the 100 actions of excessively cruel minded people done to harm a noble minded person. The tired Daityas and the Devas did not know where he had gone. Devas had all their limbs pierced and split by the missile of the Daitya. Like cows oppressed by chillness, they got merged into one another, expressing, "Alas, what will be the future?" On seeing that situation, Hari spoke to Indra and the Devas. "O King of Devas, remember the Aghora mantra. The missile thereof has the power and potentiality of the Pashupata. It had been granted to you by Rudra, who was delighted. It has never been repulsed, and it it hits and strikes excellent heroes. On being enlightened and urged by Hari thus, Indra bowed down to the bull emblemed Lord Shiva. He then took up the arrow with crescent shape, which is well honored in divine battle and was destructive of enemies. The intelligent Lord Indra fixed it to his invincible bow and charged it with Aghora mantra. He then drew the bowstring as far as his ear along with the arrow. Those rays were infallible and released it quickly for slaying him. On seeing the great missile coming on, the Asura shed his Maya suddenly. His face began to tremble, his body became stiff, he became excited. Then the arrow with crescent like tip charged with mantra of the excellent missile and suddenly discharged from the bow of Purandara. In the course of the great battle, emulated the midday sun by means of its dazzling body. It caused the head of Jambha to fall down along with his earrings, the head that had the luster of prominently projecting crown, that had been rendered fragrant by many sweet smelling flowers, and the hair on which had the luster of the fire that diffuses smoke all round. When Jambha was killed by Indra, Suras praised him much. Lord Vasudeva too said, "Well done, well done." On seeing Jambha slain, the leading Danavas turned their faces back with their hopes and ambitions shattered. All of them fled to Taraka. On seeing them frightened and on hearing that four of them, leading Danavas, had been slain, he urged the charioteer, "Rush quickly towards Indra for the battle." He said, "So be it." And when Taraka was seated in the chariot, he proceeded ahead. The Lord of Danavas went forth with haughtiness, anger, pride, exhibition of valor, as well as disrespect and contempt for others. He got into his chariot fitted with 1,000 Garudas. All the weapons had been neatly arranged therein. It was well guarded by means of all kinds of missiles. It was richly endowed with all prosperity of the three worlds. It produced a rumbling sound like the roar of the annihilator at the close of the Kalpa. It was accompanied by a great army. He caused the cardinal points and the intervening directions to reverberate. On seeing him, the thousand eyed Indra abandoned his vehicle, the elephant, and occupied the chariot got ready by Matali. It was well adorned with heated gold. It extended to 4 yojanas. Groups of siddhas rendered it beautiful. Gandharvas and kinnaras sang songs therein. Celestial damsels made it tumultuous with their dances. It was capable of offering resistance to others by means of all kinds of weapons. It was well studded with great gems and jewels. The guardians of the quarters, in their coats of mail, surrounded the chariot from all sides. They stood all round the chariot, along with Garuda, emblemed Lord. Thereat the earth quaked. A rough wind, along with the groups of maruts, blew. The 7 oceans agitated and surged. The luster of the sun was dimmed and destroyed. Then the missiles blazed and the vehicle shook. Then everything was raised and elevated. When Taraka was seen, on one side was Taraka, on the other side were groups of suras. The ruin of the worlds was on one side, the uplift of the world was on the other side. All the living beings, mobile and immobile ones, became afraid and dismayed. In that encounter, O son of Pratha, Suras praised thus the missiles, the refulgence, the well, the warriors, the glory, the strength, the heroic deeds, the inherent power, the presence. All these are the result of our penance, the penance of Devas and Asuras. With excellent arrows resembling fire and having bent joints, Devas pierced Taraka, who was approaching them. Without minding those words in his chest made by the arrows of Devas, the great Daitya filled the sky and the quarters and the earth with arrows. The Daitya pierced Narayana with 70 arrows, Hutashana, the fire god, with 90, Maruta, the wind god, on the head with 10, Yama with 10, Dhanada the Kubera with 70, Varuna with 8, and Nirarati with 28 arrows. The Daitya then hit and injured each of them with 10 arrows that tore the vital points. The Daitya then pierced Matali with 3 arrows. He hit Garuda with 10 arrows and the buffalo with 9 arrows. Thereafter, the Daitya split the coats of mail of the Devas into small pieces like gingerly seeds with arrows having bent joints. He split their bows too. Thereafter, the Devas, devoid of coats of mail and bows, became afflicted much. By the time they could take up other bows and release arrows, the Danava fitted an arrow having a luster similar to that of a deadly fire and hit Shakra in the chest. He too released arrows. Then the Danava looked up in the sky and saw Garuda and Vishnu having the shapes and features of 100 suns. He hit them with 2 arrows and they fell into a swoon. With sharp arrows he made the bodies of Yama, Vanhi, the fire god, Varuna, and Nirarati terror stricken and unconscious. He gathered arrows together and made Vayu breathless through them. Hari regained consciousness and encouraged the lords of the quarters. With an arrow, he removed the head of the charioteer from his body along with the earrings. Blazing with anger against that comet, that is a harbinger of the evil, Indra caused his banner to fall down after cutting his flagstaff. He split crown of the king of Daityas. Kubera, who was infuriated, split his bow into some many pieces by means of his arrow. Vayu reduced his chariot with the earth as the shaft to small pieces like gingerly seeds. In the course of the battle, Nirarati with his arrows reduced his coat of mail to small pieces like gingerly seeds. After performing their matchless deed, Devas, beginning with Vasudeva, licking the sides of their mouths, shouted, "Stop! Stop!" On seeing this activity of Devas, Taraka of matchless valor discharged a terrible mallet in the course of the battle towards Indra. On seeing the mallet approaching in the course of the battle, the mallet that could not be warded off, the chastiser of Paka, that is Indra, jumped off from the chariot and came down to the earth. The mallet of very harsh sound fell in the interior part of the chariot. It smashed the chariot to smithereens, but mortally the charioteer did not die. The Daitya took up a sharp edged spear and hit Keshava in his chest. He hit Garuda in the shoulder, who sat down and became senseless. He split Rakshasendra, that is Nirarati, with a sword and made him fall on the ground. He made Yama also to fall to the ground after hitting his face. He struck Vanhi, the fire god, with a javelin and made him unconscious. With his foot, he dragged Vayu and made him fall on the ground. He knocked and hit Ganesha, that is Kubera, furiously with the tip of his bow. Within a short while, he killed each of the groups of Devas with their own respective weapons, like a guru dispelling the ignorance of the boys with their own respective arguments. Regaining consciousness, Vishnu seized his irresistible discus, which was painted by the blood, suit, and fat of leading the Danavas. Keshava vehemently discharged it on the chest of the leading Danava. That discus, with the luster of the sun, fell on the Daitya. Like a blue lotus hurled on the rock, that discus got shattered on his body. Thereupon Mahendra too discharged his Vajra that was being adored for a long time. In his fight with the leading Danava, it was on this that Chakra had pinned his hope of victory, reaching the person of Taraka, who was heroic. That Vajra was also split into 100 pieces, and its rays were scattered. Then Vayu, who was never dejected in his mind, roared with great energy. He discharged his goad that had the splendor of blazing fire. On seeing it shattered on his body, Vayu became extremely infuriated. He uprooted a prominently huge mountain with fully blossomed trees in its caves. He hurled the mountain extending to 10 yojanas at the leading Danava. Just as a boy plays with a ball, the leading Daitya caught with it with his left hand smilingly that mountain which was approaching him. Striking with the same mountain, he made Antaka, that is Yama, to fall down. Then Kritanta, that is again Yama, who was beside himself with fury, lifted up his invincible baton. He whirled it with all his might and hurled it at the head of the leading Daitya, and it fell on the head of the Asura. The Daitya caught hold of it smilingly. Fire God, who could burn up the world at the close of the Kalpa, blazed with anger and hurled a Shakti towards the leading Danava in the course of the battle that shone on his chest like a garland of Shirisha flowers. Thereafter, drawing from its cupboard the sword as pure as the sky, brightening the three worlds with its luster, Mirarati, the guardian of a quarter, hurled it at the leading Danava. It fell on his head. Even as it fell, the sword immediately broke into 100 pieces. Thereupon the infuriated Lord of Waters, that is Varuna, who desired to bind the arms of Lord of Daityas, discharged the noose that had an excessively terrible form. Reaching the arm of the Daitya, that noose suddenly broke up in the form of a lordly serpent with an awful row of teeth like a saw. Thereupon the Ashwins, moon god and sun god, Sadhyas, Vasus, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Gandharvas, and serpents, all these mighty ones once again struck the lord of Daitya, that is Taraka, severally with different kinds of missiles. The missiles did not have any adverse effect on his body that was comparable to an adamantine mountain. Then Taraka, the lord of Danavas, jumped out furiously and killed crores of Devas with his fists and kicks. On seeing such a vigor of the Daitya, Lord Hari said, "Flee, O Devas!" And saying thus, he vanished. Devas, beginning with Chakra, became eager to flee, but they were held back, being dragged by the hair, and with the blows of fists and kicks struck by the excessively haughty Daityas, the chief of whom was Kalanemi. They joyously caught hold of their hair and dragged. They were taken across the dry river and bitten on the divine path. Thus, the guardians of the quarters were pulled and tossed in many ways by the great Asuras. When the tumultuous sound rose amid the powerful Daityas, O descendant of Bharata, there is Arjuna, shaking the earth, heaven, and the nether worlds. The joyous Daityas then eulogized Taraka, shouting, "Be victorious!" They filled and blew loudly, the conches having the luster of jasmine and the moon. They made terrible twangling sound with the bows and the arrows and clapped their hands. The extremely delighted Daitya shouted and danced repeatedly, like a cowherd driving herds of cattle in front of him. The Lord of Daityas kept the Devas in front. Seated in his chariot, he went ahead accompanied by Asuras. The powerful Taraka went to his city, that is basically in the Gulf of Kambat or the Cambe, situated on the shore of the sea near the confluence of river Mahi with the sea. It extended over 12 yojanas. It was rendered beautiful by a rampart wall made of copper. It contained many palaces and mansions. It was rendered splendid by many miraculous features. In that city, three types of sounds never died out: the sound of music, the strangling sound of the boasting, and the sound of let the worldly pleasures be enjoyed. After entering the city, the king went to his palace. With great festivity and celebration, he was received and honored by his sons and wives. There, the king went to his brilliant assembly hall and occupied the throne. He was eulogized by the sons of Diti and gratified and amused by celestial damsels. The Lord was surrounded by leading Daityas seated on brilliant thrones as if by lions. In the meantime, a divine lady appeared in that city. In beauty, she was unequaled, O son of Pritha. She was adorned with different kinds of ornaments. On seeing her, King Taraka was very much surprised. Surprised thus amid those Daityas, he addressed them with these words smilingly: "Who are you, O gentle lady? Tell me, O lady fascinatingly beautiful in form, what have you to do with me? Formerly we have never seen a woman like you." Then that woman replied, "Know me, O excellent Daitya, who am the goddess of splendor and glory of the three worlds. O Lord, I have been acquired by you by means of your penance and heroism. I adhere to and serve that man who has heroism, he and the one who is never idle or lethargic, is one who is endued with austerity and is never cowardly, who is a liberal donor and reasonable enjoyer. I abandon at once, O delighter of Diti, a coward, a person who is extremely morose and dejected, one who harasses chaste ladies, and one who fears and suspects everyone. Mahendra had been almost abandoned by me when your mother had been insulted by him. That is when Indra insulted the mother of Taraka, that is Varangi, the wife of Vajrangi. Now he is under your control. Taraka then said to her, surely so be it. But gentle lady Lakshmi, honored in the three worlds, permeated him. Then the women who were very well adorned joyously received him with due honor, taking up the Veerakamsya, a bell metal pot or the plate used to wave lights before victorious heroes on their return. So, and felicitated Taraka. The Devas who had been bound by the Daityas were highly dejected. They stood at the gate and were made the laughing stock of women, the Daitya, and other citizens. In the meantime, Vishnu, the intelligent one, adopted the form of a Daitya, standing in the midst of those who were laughing in derision. He recited these two verses. What is seen of them is very small and insignificant. What is it that the king will do, reflecting the anger of his mother? There is no one who does not bow down after approaching a very powerful person. O Suras, stay here by adopting the ways of white cranes like Marcus, that is, monkeys. On hearing this advice directly from Hari, the advice which had been intended to be sarcasm, the Devas stayed there in the form of monkeys. They began to dance in many ways. The Daityas and the women folk of the Asuras urged and incited them and joyously fed them. Thereupon Vishnu, the intelligent one, spoke to the gatekeeper of Daitya. Go and announce to the king these monkeys for the sake of amusement and diversion of the great king. The delighted gatekeeper entered the assembly. He knelt on the ground and joined his palms in reverence. Then he spoke clearly and concisely in a very few words without any quibble whatsoever. O Lord of Daityas, groups of monkeys are standing at the entrance. They are capable of amusing you very well. If you have a desire, it behoves you to see. On hearing this, the king said, why do you then delay? On hearing these words, the gatekeeper said to Kalanemi, the great king wishes to see these monkeys immediately. O chief of bodyguards, along with these, please entertain our lord. Thereupon Kalanemi took them to the king. Among the Markas, that is monkeys, the Vishnu Marka also went after. That means Vishnu also took the form of a monkey and went after, abandoning the form of Daitya. Then they danced well in front of Daitya Taraka. All the monkeys were cheered and applauded by the Daityas. Being amused, they shouted with joy and delight. The king was excessively delighted by their dance. He said, O Marka Devas, that means he know that they are the Devatas. I am delighted, and so I am granting you freedom from fear. Be pleased to stay in my abode. No fear need to be entertained in the heart. Means he wanted to keep them captive in his abode. On hearing this, Vishnu Marka danced and spoke thus. O king, we wish to know the limit and boundary of your abode. He is pinching the ego of the Daitya. On being asked thus, Taraka, the excellent Daitya, laughed and said, my abode is three-storied. This is the group of all the three worlds. Harimarka then said, if it is so, remember your own words, O king. Let these Markas roam about in all the three worlds without any sort of fear. O king, adherence to truth is far superior even to 100 horse sacrifices. Remembering this virtue, O Lord of Daityas, make your words truthful. Then the Daitya, who was excessively surprised, spoke these words. Well, O monkey, you are highly enlightened. Tell me the truth. Who are you? The Lord then replied, if it has reached your ears, I am Narayana by name. It is to protect the Devas that I had adopted the form of a Marka. If that is an honorable virtue, keep up with your own words. Let these suras roam about your abode. O leading king, haughtiness should never find a place in your heart. Thinking yourself to be a hero, if you see the power of Kala, that is time or death. If people die successively, there is no slayer as such. It is sheer foolishness. If the hater thinks that he is perpetrator also, who are they whom mishaps do not beset at due time? They afflict the sages, devas, great asuras, people who are old and learned in the three Vidyas or the Vedas, and ascetics in the forest. It is the power of Kala and not that of any doer or agent. That means with time, anyone, everyone will going to be defeated. Neither by the power of mantras, nor by intelligence, nor by manliness does one get what he is not destined to get. At the due time, even one who is asleep does get it, because it is not by his capability. Even someone who is sleeping will always get what he is due to get. None of these is conducive to the happiness of the person. Service rendered to parents, worship of deities, or other good behavior and conduct. Neither learning nor penance, neither charitable gifts nor friends and kinsmen are competent to save a man afflicted by Kala. Without the power of Kala, men cannot avert the destiny. Hundreds of obstacles cannot prevent that which is bound to happen from happening and that which is bound to go from going. Meritorious deeds are like the physical body. Kala is like the individual soul. It is when these two join together that effects are achieved, O Daitya. Alas, O Daitya, crores of Daityas far superior to you have in the days gone by suffered miserable plights and have been tossed and wafted by the wind of Kala like cotton from the silk cotton tree. After getting this position, you are thinking too much of yourself. You consider yourself as eternal as Lord Brahma, the source of all living beings. This is not an unshakable position, nor can it be said that it is an unending post of anyone in particular. On account of your childish intellect, you think this is mine. You believe in what should not be believed. You consider the unstable stable. That means you consider that which is unstable as stable. Under the delusion of this is mine, you wish to possess and retain the glory of the three worlds. This position cannot be steady and permanent possession of yours, or of ours, or of others. It is after passing through many others that it has come to you and is stationed in you for the time being. O Taraka, she, that is Trailokya Lakshmi, is fickle. She will stay with you for some time, and like an extremely restless harlot, she will pass on to others. I do not see now those persons by whom the three worlds have been enjoyed, richly endued with gems and jewels, as well as medicinal herbs, along with rivers, mountains, and mines. There have been many leading Danavas of great might, namely Hiranyakashipu the hero, the invincible Hiranyaksha, Prahlada, Namuchi the hero, Viprachitti, Virochana, Kirti, Sura, Vatapi the warrior, Ilvala, Ashwagriva, Shambhara, Puloman, Madhu, Kaitaba, and the others, the chief of whom was Vishwajit, all of them have been killed by Kala. Indeed, Kala is mightier than all others. Austerity extending over 10,000 years have been performed by all of them. It is not correct that you alone have practiced a great penance. All of them have engaged in holy and truthful rites. All of them possessed very great learning. All of them were donors, giving plenty to the deserving. All of them were sons and daughters of Daksha, refulgent and victorious, though they were slain and annihilated by Kala. Give up your desire for sensual enjoyment and lustful experiences. Give up this pride arising from affluence and prosperity. Then, when this affluence vanishes, grief will afflict you. Do not grieve at the time of sorrow. Do not be excessively delighted at the time of happiness. Abandoning, that is, ignoring the past and the future, maintain your activity in the present. Indra was always alert and engaged in yogic practice. Still, Kala was beset him. Pardon me, O Daitya, for long he will beset you too. Who is competent to stand before me in battle if I am angry? But Kala, the powerful factor, has intervened. Hence I stand waiting, O Taraka. You alone know me, O Daitya, who I am and of what nature is my prowess. In the different kalpas, crores and thousand billions of great Daityas have been killed by me. Of them, O Taraka, you cannot equal even a thousand millionth part. In every kalpa, it is I who create the entire universe, beginning with Brahma. If I wish, I keep it ever alive. If I do not wish, I destroy it in a moment. It is not that I do not dare to kill you in the company of all other daityas, but I do not violate the dharma even to the slightest extent with the tip of the finger. In spite of being the most prominent one, if I infringe upon dharma, which is of the nature of the excellent Brahman, in whom the dharma will seek the refuge. Do not think that I am the agent. The Lord, who is the permanent supreme authority, is Kala. It brings to perfection the universe, as in the case when fruit appears in the tree. Misery as well as happiness arise from the same type of karmans, and Purusha undergoes it. O Daitya, see the wonderful nature of Kala. It should be noted by all intelligent men that everything happens due to the influence of Kala. Learned men know that when one's own karma becomes ripe, it yields the fruit. Hence, one should perform auspicious rites which will be of meritorious nature. There shall be happiness thanks to the meritorious deeds. It is certain that misery will result from sins. Thinking about this, O leading Daitya, keep your promise if you can honor my words wholly. Taraka then replied to Vishnu, on seeing me stationed here, accompanied by Kalanemi and others whose intellect will not become pained, even that of Mrityu, who is desirous of killing others, will become pained. But your intellect is steady, it is not pained, it visualizes the reality. Whatever you say is true, there is no doubt about it. After seeing the universe leading towards destruction, which embodied being will be eager to believe in the body or in the riches in the world, I too know this world as non eternal in this way. The world is thrown into the fire of Kala, which is terrible and which goes on perpetually. It is a secret thing known to a few alone. Even as a man says, I shall do this today, I shall do this tomorrow, Kala dispels everything like the flood in a river that sweeps away everything on its way. Only now have I seen this. It has not been forgotten. The prattle of men who are being taken away by Kala is heard, but the people who are attached to jealousy, false prestige, covetousness, lust, anger, fear, desire, illusion, and arguments do not understand it. O Keshava, they cannot discriminate between what is weighty, that means what is important, and what is not weighty, what should be done and what should not be done. O Keshava, I know you, O Vishnu, as the Lord, the most excellent one among all living beings. What shall we do? On account of our powerful natural traits, we do not meditate on you. Some worship you with devotion, some with enmity, some with frivolous sport. All of them are worthy of your compassion. You are the immanent soul of all embodied beings. The ancient and eternal Dharma is the same unto all living beings. Let all the heaven dwellers who, being seized, depend on me, are released by me. Now let them go away. Again, in the form of monkeys, they must roam about in all the three worlds. They must not desire the shape in the yajnas. They must not desire a share in the yajnas. This is the stipulated condition. When this was said by Taraka, the Devas were delighted. In a ram, even after being shorn, be released alive from a butcher, it is definitely a great gain. The Lord then advised, O Lord of Daityas, be a knower of reality, be endowed with learning, wisdom, and the power of penance. You are able to see Kala clearly like a myrobalan on the palm. O highly intelligent devotee of Shiva, who are conversant with the behavior of Kala, O son of Vajranga, you are blessed. You are one worthy of being loved by intelligent ones. Enjoy the three worlds as long as the power, the potency of your penance lasts. These suras will roam over the universe under this condition. After saying this, Lord Narayana, surrounded by the herd of Markas, went away from that region and came to the mountain Meru. After hearing Meru, Hari spoke these, after reaching Meru, Hari spoke these words: all of you go to Brahma, he will do what is conducive to your welfare. You must never violate the conditions, they should be maintained. Saying this, Lord Vishnu vanished there itself. After being bowed to and eulogized by Devas, the Suras went to Brahma. The excellent ones from heaven who went there eulogized him. His brilliance shone in all the three worlds, attaining great prosperity by the grace of Shiva, the heroic son of Vajranga, too rejoiced. He himself, that is the Sotaraka himself, became Indra. Nimi was appointed in the place of Vanhi, the fire god. Palanemi became Yama. Stambha became appointed in the place of Nirarati. Mahisha officiated as Varuna. Mesha took charge from the wind god. Jambha became the officer in the place of Kubera. Taraka gave the posts of others to other Daityas. Thus ended chapter 21 of Kaumarika Khanda under the Maheshwara Khanda in Skanda Purana. Namaste Sharada Devi Kashmira Puravasini Swamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidya Danancha Dehime. Bye.